Hey guys, what's up? So today I'm going to be reviewing Super Mario Land for the Game Boy. For this, any gameplay you see is going to be on the RetroArch emulator, HD 1080p I believe, so yeah, enjoy. Now, I mean, visually, obviously, there's nothing much impressive here. Nothing groundbreaking for the Game Boy. There certainly are better-looking Game Boy games, but since this is a launch title, you kind of have to give it slack. As, I mean, later on, they did end up improving how games look, but they had to start off with somewhere, and I think this is a pretty good start. Nothing terrible. It just looks okay. Now, I mean, just as you would expect from a Mario game, Mario can run, jump, collect 100 coins for an extra life, and there are power-ups, but only 2 of them. And 1-ups have been changed to hearts since the Game Boy couldn't display 2 different colors. So, I mean, instead of green mushrooms are hearts, but it's easy to tell anyways. I mean, the 2 power-ups are Super Mushroom, which everybody knows makes Mario bigger and invulnerable to one hit. And then there's this new one called the Super Ball, which is very similar to the Fire Flower, but instead of just going in a straight bouncing motion, it kind of like bounces off platforms and goes everywhere sporadically. It's cool because it can collect coins and stuff, but it's kind of less useful because since it bounces everywhere, you have to be very precise and accurate with your shots, whereas a Fire Flower, you could just kind of spam it. Overall though, I mean, it's okay. But I mean, Mario controls very stiff in this game. It's not game-breaking, but it's definitely a huge problem with the game. It can make levels more hard than they have to be, it can make the experience a bit more frustrating in certain parts, and it can make running dangerous. Overall, it's not too great. I barely see myself using the run button just because of how stiff the game already is when I'm walking. It just doesn't feel too good overall. Now, the levels themselves in this game are pretty fun, however, the game is too short. And there's only 4 worlds and 3 levels in each world, so I mean, there's only 12 levels. And I mean, each Dash 30 ends with a boss, so there are a few bosses to fight, which is pretty cool. But I mean, after beating a normal level, like a Dash 1 or 2, if you do some tight platforming, which gets harder and harder over time, you can get to a bonus room where you could win some lives or a power-up, depending on how you result. Now, these are super helpful because the game is no cakewalk for first-timers. Like, if this is your first playthrough, the game can be pretty hard, at least for me, and a lot of people, because the controls are a huge factor, since Mario's stiffness, and I mean, there are some levels where you definitely have to watch out, as there is some, like, these boulder segments where you have to hop on a boulder and hop at the right time. Can be a bit hard with Mario's stiff controls. Also, the spider level was a pain in the fucking ass. I mean, some of these spiders I just couldn't see. But I mean, once you get familiar with the levels and stuff, if this is like your second time through, you should be good. This game is not too hard, but it's hard enough to give you a fine challenge. But I mean, overall, it's only 30 minutes of playtime regardless. I mean, so you could pretty much beat this game in the lunch break. The levels themselves, for the most part, are really fun anyways, so this is definitely a game you'd go and replay. Now, some levels are actually 2D shoot-'em-up sections, which I thought were really awesome and really fun to play. I thought this is a smart way of making the short experience more diverse and memorable. And what I find cool is that these worlds are based off real-life places. I mean, the last world, World 4, is based off ancient China, and one of the enemies are based off some Chinese folklore, Jiangshi, which are hopping vampires in Chinese. And the music is a clear indication that you are in ancient China as well. It's pretty stereotypical, but still a nice track. And I mean, speaking of music, I have to say this music is absolutely phenomenal. One of the best OSTs in gaming, especially considering this was all on a Game Boy. It's insane how they pulled this off, and some of these are super catchy and memorable tracks worth a listen. Absolutely beautiful. But I mean, once you've done all the other levels and you've gotten to 4-3, the final world, you've gotten to the final part of the game, the final boss, you'll find it's a cloud who summons flying chickens to attack you. This would be weird at first, and the boss itself can be a tricky on the first playthrough, especially if you're going in without a power-up or you're not familiar with the pattern. But once you get familiar with it, it's pretty straightforward and easy. But once you beat that, when you think the game ends, it doesn't. This is where you fight the real final boss, Tatanga, and I gotta say, he's super fucking easy. It's pretty much just spam and avoid the ball columns, and the ball columns are extremely avoidable. Very easy boss fight, and I mean, after that, you're done. You're done the entire game. But I mean, after you are done, you can press start to play expert mode, which is pretty much a more difficult challenge if you thought the first go wasn't hard enough. Pretty cool if you ask me. Now, I mean, that's gonna wrap up my review for Super Mario Land for the Game Boy. There's really not much to talk about with this game. It's very simple and straight to the point. There's not much going on here. It is a Game Boy launch title after all. There's not much they had to work with. I mean, overall, I think it's a fun experience. Nothing groundbreaking, but it is a pretty decent one. Just nothing too memorable. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10 if I had to give it a score. It's an alright game. Now, I mean, if you want to play this game, there's not much you have to play it on. It wasn't really ported a lot. But, I mean, if you do have an old Game Boy Color, or Game Boy Advance lying around, you could pick up a cartridge for pretty cheap online, I believe. I could be wrong. But, also, I'm sure one of you guys has a 3DS. You can load up the eShop and get it for like $5 or $4. Pretty cheap. I'd say it's worth a go just to see how the Mario Handheld series has really taken off in the, the past. Like, I mean, how we got from Mario Land to New Super Mario Bros. To fucking Mario Galaxy on the Switch. It's honestly impressive, I think. I think it's cool for Mario memorabilia. Nothing more, though. It's just kind of a decent experience. But, I mean, this game did spawn some sequels. Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, and Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land, which I will take a look at later down the line. Overall, this is pretty fun. I'll catch you guys next time.
There's Cat's Eye. You're gonna be sure, safe and secure. It's the last rites for those pests. It's Cat's Eye. Call the best of the best to get rid of your